Welcome to More Than 5 Minutes, a review series where every review has to be at least 5 minutes long, or I have to learn to play this harmonica. Today we have Together in Battle, a tactics RPG with procedurally generated characters and relationships. To begin, you go to the recruiter to pick out a team. Each character gets randomly assigned to be human or one of a few fantasy species. Facial features, hair, and skin color from a pool, a personality type which determines most of their dialogue, a background, a couple of physical attributes, and a class, like Spearman or Pyrokineticist. Interestingly, you can get a pretty good look into the character creation system by making your own custom character. For my playthrough, I made Elise Avery, the sensitive, energetic, insomniac pyrokineticist, who used to be a musician before she turned to fighting for a living. You can add custom dialogue to your characters, which is a solid opportunity to add your own flavor to the game, or to your entire custom campaign, which I didn't try making for the purposes of this review, but is also an option. You can't see personalities in-game, just physical attributes, stats, and class, so you'll discover a character's quirks through events which occur each night at camp. You're given a few options, but most of the time, you'll be giving your fighters free reign, which gives you a series of visual novel-esque scenes of characters doing activities alone, or talking to each other. For example, two characters might pass each other in the camp, start to talk, and one character tells the other about their favorite hobby. Each personality has a different piece of dialogue for most of these little events, but unfortunately there aren't that many and you start to see the same few crop up a lot. The writing is okay, but it isn't good enough to withstand seeing it a dozen times. Since all conversations could happen between any two characters, they can't be too specific. The initiating character says something about a small number of topics, and the other can't actually refer to what was said when responding. They'll often say something like, "Wow, I didn't ask, but I'm glad I know that," and it ends up feeling like everyone is a disinterested spouse pretending to listen. It feels a step behind some similar systems from other games like Wildermyth, especially with its infrequent ability to remember what happened before and build upon it. Wildermyth tends to use small pieces of story that leave a mark on your character's stats or body or relationships or dialogue, and will often have a follow-up event later on. And while Together in Battle's system supports a lot more characters, it also leaves those characters feeling shallow. You play as a resistance fighter, traveling to fight in the arena as a way to find strong recruits for your cause. However, you don't spend any time engaging with this, like convincing people of your cause, and none of the battles you fight in the arena matter to the story. Instead, there's a separate main story you can pursue using the game's light time management system, where the battles do have story justification, and it's actually fairly interesting, but it's unrelated to the arena stuff, which you have to do every few days, and interrupts your ability to follow the story, because your units will get wounded and need to recover. Thankfully, the combat is exciting. Each character has a set of abilities based on their class, with most abilities either doing damage, inflicting a status effect, moving enemies, or some combination of those things. Standing on higher terrain gives you a damage bonus, but getting pushed off onto lower areas deals damage. If a character is pushed into water or lava, they'll have to spend a turn to climb out, taking damage in the meanwhile. Getting hit in the back hurts a lot, especially for your magical units who don't wear heavy armor, so you'll be positioning your units close enough to hit enemies, but far enough away to hopefully not get backstabbed. The classes have diverse abilities that lead to fun strategies, although some classes are clearly better than others. One of my favourites is the Stone Golem, which can pick up and throw enemies a few spaces, often on top of their comrades or off a cliff. Combat is satisfying to master, with my one complaint being that some classes die in a single backstab, and it can be hard to avoid in some situations. The combat here is easily worth your time on its own, even if it is sometimes a bit unbalanced in a hilarious way, like when I shoved this character in the water for an entire fight. It's UI complaints time! Each character can use an item every turn for free, but to see what items they have, you have to right-click them, as they don't appear on the hotbar with skills. Unless one of the characters tells you in camp that their weapon is about to break, you'll never see their weapon durability unless you purposefully check their stats screen. The time management portions give you enough time to go to the arena, progress the main quest, or do two other things. Sometimes you can only really afford to put your units in the infirmary and wait, but there's no wait option. You'll have to go to the shopkeeper and leave without buying anything to pass time. In combat, you'll often try to cancel an attack, but it won't work the first time, so you'll need to press the cancel button a few times. The pathfinding just picks paths straight through traps, so if you want to avoid them, you'll have to move your units manually. The game's money management system leans heavily on winning matches, which means failure begets more failure. I ended up starting a new playthrough, but the game had already let me lose over and over for a couple of hours, and didn't seem likely to let me entirely fail until everyone died. On a more positive note, I want to share my favourite story from the randomised events. I recruited Escher, a spearman, and it turned out Elise was an old friend of hers. After resuming their friendship and getting along quite well, they accidentally bathed naked in the river at the same time and caught a glimpse of each other. While they were quite embarrassed about it, they each quietly realised that they were attracted to each other. For a while, they pined after one another, neither being quite brave enough to speak up, until Elise's friend Nimrod died in battle. Elise was devastated, and began to drink heavily in her grief. She didn't talk with Escher as much anymore. Before she could fully recover, she was cut down in battle. Escher became hopeless, grieving that she'd never told Elise how she felt. After a week or so of drinking, she got through the worst of her grief, realised our group was done for, and decided to leave because it was so poorly run. It's a neat little story there, though I saw the exact same 3 pieces of story being used a handful of times to describe Elise grieving, then again for Escher grieving, and this kind of repetition is a big hit to the pacing and the story being told. When the random conversation system works, it's interesting but not mind-blowing, and a lot of the time it doesn't quite hit the mark, leaving it overall cool but lacking. I've not mentioned the music or graphics in most of this review, because I mostly feel fine about them. The art style isn't my thing, but it's not bad, and the music is a little generic, but not offensive in any way. The main story of the game is by and large more interesting, but the procedural events aren't a complete wash. While I wouldn't recommend the game purely for its story, it provides enough backbone for the gameplay to really shine. So if you like tactics games and want to spend a good 30 or so hours with one, this is definitely worth a look. So, this is my first time doing a review style thing, like I did for Second Wind and The Escapist. Let me know if you enjoyed it, and if you want to see more of them. I'll probably do more anyway, but this isn't going to be everything the channel does. And also let me know if you want to hear more harmonica.